My girlfriend, 24F, is upset that I, 25M, have tattoos of my female friend. For this post I'll call my friend Julia. She passed away 5 years ago. She was my first and best friend growing up. Our families are close, so we have been friends since we were babies. There was no romantic feelings just a best friend / sister. We were big fans of pop punk / alt / emo music. Specifically this band called the Wonder Years. The last album she was alive to hear was their No Closer to Heaven album, and we both were no saviors if we can't save our brothers, tattooed on us. Which is a line said on a couple songs throughout the album. She died from a car accident. Saddest moment in my life was hearing that news. I have a lot of tattoos on both of my arms and back. I got her name tattooed with a heart around it and a date. That band has released 2 albums since Julia's death, and I have gotten lyrics that I feel like she would like the most tattooed. I've been dating my current girlfriend for the last 2 years and it's great. I love her a lot. We really work as a couple. She asked me why I have a Julia with a heart tattooed on me, and I understand why that would be off-putting. Like if she had Steve in a heart, I would be curious as well. I told her about it and she thought it was sweet, but over time I can tell whenever I take off my shirt and she sees that Julia tattoo, it irks her. Last week the Wonder Years released a new album and I got You're the Reason I Won't Want the World to End tattooed. She asked me about it and I told her about how I have gotten a tattoo for every album they have released since Julia's death. This got her really upset that I am getting cute lyrics tattooed for another woman. I told her that she was just my friend, but she is upset. The other lyric I have from the album before this is, "From the ground we look like lighting." She seems really put off by this and I don't know how to explain. Anytime I tell her about how deep our friendship was, she gets more upset. I want to mend this problem, but it also has me worried about future relationships now. Is this going to be a deal breaker in the future? Julia was my best friend and it was never romantic. She would make handcrafted necklaces and jewelry, and I have one of them hanging from my mirror in my car, and I don't think that is weird. My girlfriend is very understanding usually, so her reacting this way is new to me. It's making me wonder if doing this is a bad thing. My 18F sister, 19F, is fucking my boyfriend, 24M. It's what the title fucking says. The girl who's basically been a sister to me all my life and who I'm living and going to college with is fucking my boyfriend in my goddamn bed. We've been dating for 6 months, so I know it shouldn't hurt as much, but this was also one of my first real relationships, so like it. I guess what makes everything worse is that they don't feel bad about it. Like, he asked me to join them. He was just going on about creating this place where we could live happily and I wouldn't have to be hung up about propriety and shit. FTR, I haven't had sex with him yet because I'm nervous. Yeah, I'm a virgin loser, but he's convinced it's because of society or whatever, which I didn't really get, but he backed off after a bit of pushing regardless, so I didn't pay too much attention at the time. Anyways, he wants to make this place where we could live happily with a bunch of other girls he's been fucking texting behind my back. My sister was just nodding her head along like he wasn't spouting utter bullshit and was talking about how much closer we could become. I left after that and now I'm at my college's library on Reddit. I'm still in shock, I think. I have no idea what to fucking do. I can't go to either of our parents. We had a bad fight BC, they didn't want me to stay with her, but everybody in our family has always picked on her and treated her badly even when she's done nothing wrong. I don't really have any friends outside of my sister and boyfriend that I can stay with. I have most of my important stuff with me aside from documents and other little trinkets and plushies, but just the thought of going back to my room is making me nauseous. If I should just bite the bullet and ignore everything or wait it out or something. I don't want to lose my sister or my boyfriend, but I'm so fucking angry with them both. I just really don't want to start crying in a library. What do I do? My fiancée confessed that she had a sexual relationship with her deceased sister's husband for 3 years. I am 31, have been with my fiancée F33 for 2 years. She had a sister who passed away from cancer, leaving behind her 2 young kids and husband. At that time, my fiancée was stepping up and taking a huge part in caring for the kids along with her mom. Her sister's husband didn't date again till 3 years later. As our wedding approaching, my fiancée has been acting strange lately. I tried pushing her to tell me what's wrong, and she finally decided to tell me after she heard about her sister's husband's recent engagement. She sat with me yesterday and recalled the events after her sister's death. She talked about her niece and nephew and their dad. She told me that she and her sister's husband became close months after her sister's death. She said something happened, something like a trauma bonding that made them seek comfort in each other. She began crying, saying that she and her sister's husband kissed one night while he was picking the kids up, and from there, they started having a relationship that lasted for 3 years. She said no one knew, not even any kiss about it, and they did their best to keep it a secret. She said he'd come over to her pews or she would go to his and sleep together. I couldn't process this. I didn't want her to keep talking, but I froze and had nothing to say. She swore they ended it right after she met me, and that the reason she told me about was because she wanted to enter THS marriage with no secrets at all. She said it was just a confusing, emotionally charged period in her life, and she moved and he also moved on. I didn't know what to say after she pleaded with me to let it go and think about how she was honest with me. I don't know. I couldn't help thinking about how fucked that is and how she was justifying a decision after another. I left the apartment and asked for some space, but she kept contacting me and crying, saying she regretted it and blamed it on her mental state/grief at the time. I feel confused and devastated. I don't want to judge her mental state at the time, but I don't want to pretend like it's all good and nothing happened. I feel terrible and like the walls are caving in on me, unable to think clearly. I don't know what to do. Maybe I should let it go, seeing what's done is done, but any advice is welcome. My 31F husband, 33M, wants me to cut contact with my sis, 28F, because she cheats. My husband just dropped this on me. I am totally clueless about the whole situation, and I am not even sure how am I feeling right now. The following is account from my husband. I have yet to verify anything. Months ago, my husband bumped into my sister fiancé, let's call him Mark, 29-30M, not sure, they were not particularly close, but they know each other. My husband was coming to pick me up for a date, and Mark was surprised because my sister told him she was hanging out with me. This set off an alarm with both of them. I have to provide some clarity before the next part. Both me and my sister moved to the same city for job. Our parents are back in hometown. So, both of us are very close and spend a lot of time together. Sometime my sister would just show up after work and we will go for a drink or do something. Then, at one point my sister told Mark she was going to hang out with me again. My husband nonchalantly mentioned it and thought we would be hanging out instead of my sister. I didn't think much of it since my sister sometime do just show up. I ended up calling my sister to say I would be hanging out with my husband, ask her not to come if she planned to. My husband and Mark take this as I was helping to cover for my sister. They then checked both mine and my sister's phone. Of course, my husband found nothing on mine, but Mark found some suggestive texts. They hired PI to follow both me and my sister. They caught my sister went to hotel with a guy multiple times. Back to now, I am really angry. I felt like my husband can't trust me at all, but the circumstances seems reasonable. I asked him why didn't he talk to me. He said if I know, my sister will know and they wouldn't be able to get any evidence. You know what, I am angry that he is probably right. I will definitely talk to my sister if I had known and talk her out of it. My husband now wants me to cut contact with my sister, because he said we are too close and will be a bad influence. Our relationship will be over if he found out I am helping my sister. My sister has been my support when I am going through hardship. Now that she is going through problem, I can't imagine not being there. I also hate that I know I should be angry with my sister rather than my husband, but I just don't. Advices? Am I being too paranoid about my husband's new friendship with a woman? Background information. I am 37. My husband is 33, and Jessica is 26. I was a camping trip with my husband. I'm not a big fan of camping at all, but I agreed to come because my husband is really outdoors. Why? We went with 4 other people, a couple, Jim and Kate, Kate's friend Christopher and his sister, Jessica. I guess I'm looking for advice on if I'm being too paranoid or not. My husband really doesn't have any female friends, not for any reasons, just the way it is, so I've never had to deal with this. When we got here we began to set up the tents, but again I know nothing about camping, so I was pretty useless, but Jessica isn't, so she volunteered to help my husband. After that, her and my husband spent almost the entire trip together. They spent the entire time talking to each other, joking around. If I didn't want to do or go somewhere, there was a particularly tricky hike, kayaking, etc., and the moment I wasn't there Jessica jumped in to take my spot. In all of the photos she's right next to my husband. They're talking and laughing in literally every photo. There was one night where I fell asleep early, and when I woke up at 3 a.m. they were sitting next to each other at the fire, and apparently they had been there for hours, just the two of them. When we got home I talked to my husband about how I felt a little uncomfortable with how close him and Jessica had been on the trip, and he told me I was looking into things too much. He enjoyed spending time with Jessica because he liked her as a person and they liked doing the same outdoors things, but I know they've been in contact since we've gotten home. I'm just worried because my husband and I are working on building back our trust after something that happened 2 years ago, not cheating, so I'm just wondering if I'm looking into things too deeply or not. I can't keep going on dates with my boyfriend. I'm 24 and he's 33. I met him around 3 months ago, but we only recently started going on dates about 6 weeks ago. I don't know exactly how much he makes, but he's an electrician, so it's a lot. Looking at him he just looks expensive. He's always wearing expensive watches, he smells like expensive cologne, he doesn't wear designer clothes or anything, but he could definitely afford it if he wanted to. He literally owns a machine for warming his towels. His house is luxurious. He lives in an apartment in DC, so you probably wouldn't expect much, but my God. I didn't even know this place existed. I, on the other hand, am a waitress. I work in 2 different diners 6 days a week and I don't even make a fourth of what, I'm assuming, he makes. I make in a year what he makes in 4 months. He's been to my place when he drops me off, usually after our dates, so you'd think he knows I don't make that much based off my apartment. The problem comes in on date nights. He always wants to go out to fancy, borderline black tie restaurants and I just can't afford them. For our first date he took me to the Quill. I didn't want to be rude and expect him to pay, so I insisted we split the bill and ended having to ask my sister to help me with groceries the following week. I don't want to be rude and tell him no to the dates, but I simply can't let him pay the bill in full without feeling guilty. I just want to stay in and order takeout or something. I don't want to have to choose between being able to pay my bills and going on a date with him. He told me that he had reservations for this weekend already at some restaurant I can't even pronounce, and I'm just wondering the best way to bring this up to him. She left me for the guy she told me not to worry about, now wants me back since he rejected her. So, it's kind of a long story. Back in October of last year I met a girl at a club and got her number. We talked a lot and I began to really like her, she really liked me too. We started going out and our relationship was strong. But then I found out she had this guy friend who gives her flowers and asks her to the movies and stuff. She didn't tell me herself, I found out. Call me insecure or whatever, but I was upset by this. I talked to her about and she was like, he's just a friend, don't worry about him, etc., and even said she would block him if it made me so uncomfortable. I thought, nah, it's fine, I guess I don't have to worry about him. Her parents absolutely despise me, so they made her break up with me. We were separated, but we promised to still keep in touch and wait for each other. Fast forward a few months, I find out she's hooking up with that friend. I haven't been in contact with her for a few months, but I text her, angry. Yeah, I know she's not my girlfriend at this point, so I can't tell her what to do, but we had a thing. We had a promise. She tries to defend herself with, "You don't know how much I suffered, I got sick and tired of waiting, and he just gave me the attention I needed, it just happened," and overall a whatever who cares attitude towards how I felt, that being hurt and betrayed. But then she tried to make it official with him and he dipped the fuck out. He just wanted to fuck, and he dipped once he got that. Now she came back to me saying, "I never moved on from you, what I was thinking." Right. But then she had the audacity to ask, if we started dating again, would you let me stay friends with him? I feel so hurt. And betrayed, and so angry. But I don't want to lash out, I don't want to take that frustration out, 'cause then I'll immediately look like the bad guy. I don't know what the hell to do. RN. My 26M girlfriend, 30F, is codependent. I, 26M, can't do anything that involves leaving her, 30F, alone. I can't go to the grocery store without her. I can't even take out the trash without her having a panic attack. It wasn't always this bad, but pretty recently it has gotten to this level. She has to make sure she has someone with her every time I go to work and will start freaking out if no one has come. She'll even get mad at me if I leave while she's freaking out trying to not be late. My mom wants me to go to mom's house for the day in order to celebrate a personal win for mom. I would be gone from the morning up until early afternoon. When I told my girlfriend I was going to do this, she got mad because that meant she had to get someone scheduled to be with her. She's unable to find anyone, so she's now mad at me for saying I'm still going. I haven't seen my mom in months and was really happy that I had an opportunity to go over there. She yelled at me again when I asked if she had anything for that day scheduled yet so I could give my mom an answer. It's also gotten to the point that I do all of the chores, short of her cooking on occasion. I do all of the cleaning. I do all of the laundry. I do everything. Part of me just wants to end the relationship and kick her out. Only my name is on the house, as she very recently moved in. I let her due to some rather bad circumstances. I don't see any way of her not living with me that isn't a full end to the relationship and complete no contact though. The freakouts make me afraid to kick her out. She might kill herself or me. I'd imagine that would be a worse freakout than just when I have to go to work. She's been going through a lot, and I understand that. She has lost a few very close family members, including one yesterday. I understand this. I just can't deal with the codependency, it's going to end up getting me fired, which means we have no income. I also am starting to feel manipulated. It's almost like she sees I'm becoming less tolerant of things and is trying to bring back the reason I let her in from the start. An example would be yesterday when she mentioned how abusive and manipulative her mom is and that her mom is doing everything to get her back so she can abuse her. I don't want to care. She is old enough to be independent in some ways, but instead uses me. Any time I want to do anything that involves leaving the house, I'm made to feel guilty. Thanks for watching this video. Please leave a like and subscribe.